My name is Anthony Armstrong. I'm a professional engineer. I did my master's degree at Carleton University. My undergraduate courses included instruction in mechanical, civil, electrical engineering. I was motivated to work on the design of the biosphere after working in national defense in 1977 on a nuclear warfare project that went on for about 3 months. During that time I had what was called a CAD 3 top secret clearance, and I learned about a number of things on the planet in terms of military hardware that had me very upset. Over the years following that, I struggled with how to deal with this information and the knowledge that at some time in the future mankind might become very destructive with conflicting ideologies from different countries around the world and lots of military hardware to implement warfare between the conflicting ideologies. I started the initial design in the late 80s of this biosphere, and over the years that followed I came up with a drawing set and the model which you saw in the earlier cut. There's about 100 drawings in the drawing set covering everything from the design of the biosphere to the robotics that are used to construct it, and the vehicles, the transportation vehicles that will come and go from the biosphere. The drawing set starts off by describing in overview form how the biosphere is put together, and then more particularly how the different structures within the biosphere are constructed. So if we turn to the first initial drawing illustrated here, we see a bird's eye view of the biosphere showing a square design with the 12 towers marked in X's and the biomes in the corner of the biosphere, corners of the biosphere, and the complexes, the recreation complex, the science engineering complex, the ocean complex, and the medical complex between the towers, and the city center, which is the Christ complex, in the middle of the whole structure. This design illustrates the overall dimensions of 4,500 by 4,500 cubits, or 6,750 by 6,750 feet. If we turn to the next drawing, we see the framework that frames the top of the towers to support the canopy. Buckminster Fuller theory indicates that any geodesic design over a mile in diameter requires additional support. This design is well over a mile in diameter, but also for longevity of structural integrity, the framework, which is integrated with the towers, supports the geodesic dome, which covers the whole thing. As we turn to the next diagram, we see that the towers, the 12 towers, which are all laid out identically, have several levels up to the furlong height, which is the 606 foot level. There are 60 levels of approximately 10 feet each that progress to the base of the apex of the towers, and the apex is the upper portion of each tower that supports the communal living facilities within the tower. The 60 levels below that support residential accommodation in a condominium type form, and the 60 levels are laid out in 12 major levels of 5 levels each, 5 by 12 being 60. I'll just indicate at this point that the tower design is basic to the whole layout of the biosphere. The towers accommodate the residents, both in where they live and where they meet communally for different activities. The towers also, they define the way the whole biosphere is laid out, and they support the geodesic covering of the biosphere. If we look more closely at the tower design, as shown earlier, we see, as I indicated earlier, that there are 60 levels, 12 major levels of 5 levels each. What that means is every 5 levels is a major floor that extends out 50 feet beyond the floors above it. That's a 50-foot balcony. And there is a set of express elevators that access each one of the 12 major floors. Now the reason for this design is the people within the tower never look down more than 50 feet because every 5 levels or 50 feet is a balcony that protrudes out horizontally 50 feet. We can see that more clearly in this particular drawing that illustrates the floor layout of each tower. There are 4 corner sections, the quad sections, I call them. Quad meaning 4 corners, and a central section. And within each of the quad sections and the central section are condominium type accommodation. There's a 17-foot balcony around the perimeter of the quad and the central section, and there's a 50-foot light airway that lets in light to some degree, although a lot of the light in these corridors would be internal artificial sunlight type lighting. But the air system, the corridors allow air delivery to every unit inside the quad sections and in the central section. So in essence, there's no forced air delivery system as in a conventional large structure. It's more of an open air type concept. The units within the quad sections and within the central section are each about 30 by 70 feet, which is approximately 2,100 square feet of living space each of these units have. If we look to a typical layout of a unit, although there could be hundreds, if not thousands of different layouts depending on the requirements of the individuals inside, we see in the 30 by 70 foot layout that there are different sections. This outside portion here would be the balcony portion that either faces the outside of the tower or the inside of the light airway. There are light air corridors down the side of this condo unit. The lower portion here would be where the hallway access is on the interior of the unit, and that would be where essentially the front door is. From hallway access to the front door, we have in the first section what amounts to what would be like a basement type section in a normal accommodation like a house. Then we have the sleeping section, and then we have the living section. The sleeping section would accommodate bathrooms and bedrooms, and the living section would accommodate a kitchen, a dining room, and a family or living type room. The normal population within one of these units, which as I said is about 2,100 square feet, would be anywhere from 2 to 3 or 4 people. An average of 2.5 people, and with an average of 2.5 people for each unit, with 80 units on a floor and 60 floors, that's 12,000 people per tower. With 12 towers, that's 144,000 people. Now if we look over at this drawing over here, we see what is referred to as the apex of a tower. The apex is the last 150 feet at the top of the tower, which accommodates a communal type of artificial outdoor environment, like a community sports field. In this case, there's 2 baseball fields illustrated within this portion of the tower, and above that, accessed by elevator, is school facilities for either adults or children, retail facilities, and other exercise type facilities such as a gym and swimming pool. So that pretty much summarizes the layout of the 12 towers in a basic form.